Hello YouTube, this is VidHead85, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about something that happened this morning, rather, since I work overnight. It's kind of crazy. I always say yesterday to mean earlier that day, but technicalities, really. What happened, actually, there were two things, 2 days that this kind of happened over. They were two different events, but they have a link through it, actually. This morning, what happened was I work with a few people that actually one person I know prior. His name is Carl. We lived when I was little. After our house on Adams Street burned down, we moved into Guilford, 411 Guilford. I'll never forget it. With the Kirkwoods. The Kirkwoods were downstairs. My family and I, we lived upstairs. And actually, while at that residence, I had my first gay experience with someone very close. I've never told him who it was, because I don't know if he'd believe me or not, but it's really, I shouldn't reveal that to him because it's a person very close to him too. The babysitter was his brother, so that's why I won't tell him. If he finds out, it won't be for me. So I work with him, and I told him that I've been sleeping all day. Yesterday when I came home, I did a video, and then after that I was going to do shoulders and arms, but I never did because I fell asleep. And then I didn't wake up till about 11 when my alarm rang off, and I said, okay, 11:30, and then I hit the dismiss button after that, and then I got up about 4 o'clock, went back to sleep, woke up back at 9:30, so it was mostly sleeping about 12 hours that day. So when I told him that I'd been sleeping for 12 hours, he'd said, oh my goodness, who you get pregnant? And I'm like, well, no, I'm not getting anybody pregnant, I'm gay. And I don't know, I guess I don't think that's broadcasting, but it's kind of not exactly keeping it on the hush-hush either, which I don't like to broadcast it. Then again, I don't just leave it away in a corner. But he was like, he told me then that he should hook me up with somebody else at work, and I'm like, this person is not what I'm looking for. First off, their gender expression is female, and the personality just would never, I don't mesh with that kind of a personality, really. Maybe we would be a bit too much alike or something, but I already have someone too, so. And then I mentioned something, I think I remember saying something about wanting kids, and he was like, well, you're not going to have kids, they're not going to be yours. And I said, a lot of people I consider you family, you're adopted family, so I consider you guys family. A lot of people would say that you're not family, and he said, okay, granted. So that was kind of a victory for me, because a lot of right-wing fucktards think that just because a person is not related to you by blood, that they're not family. Well, family is where you're loved. Family is where love resides. And during the AIDS crisis, a lot of people were estranged from their families because they were gay, but also because their families didn't want anything to do with them, so they made their own families. And a lot of times, us queers, we make our own family too, because a lot of times our blood family we may not be able to share the fullest expression of ourselves with our families, because they only know a certain thing. And I feel that way with my family sometimes. Even though I can bring Daryl around and whatever, I really can't talk about, I really can't talk with them on the same level that I would talk with my gay friends about it. So that wasn't the whole issue. That wasn't the whole issue, or at least what we kind of debated about for a short while. What he debated about was simply that this individual was born male, and she prefers to use female pronouns. And I actually asked her one day, I said, excuse me, what what gender pronouns do you use? And she's like, excuse me? I said, well, when I address you, do I address you as he or she? And she's like, oh, she, okay. I'm like, okay. And then I walked away. And she's also bilingual too. She speaks Spanish as well, which is cool. But when I said, when Carl said, I should hook you up with him, I said, well, and he's like, oh, not your type. I'm like, well, she's not my type at all. And before I was ready to say, and I also have a boyfriend too, so that really, I don't think he'd be very happy about it. And I did say, I did kind of step up and say, listen, you know, gender is between here, because when you look in the mirror, you see male, you see female. When I look in the mirror, I see male. If I saw female, then I would obviously have a different appearance, or possibly after I would have come out, I would have dressed in a way that was consistent with my gender identity. And now I do, but I do now because I see male. But if my gender identity was female, I would dress accordingly. And I see a lot of people don't understand, but I think I just planted a small seed of this is how it is with a transgender person. You may not understand it, you may not like it, but that's the way it is. A transgender person looks in the mirror and they see the opposite gender. That's how they feel. And they want to express that because they feel that is the greatest, a part of the sum total of the greatest expression of themselves. And I kind of wondered if I should definitely find another place of work. Well, not just because of that, but because of the hours. And hopefully I will be soon. I have to put some more applications in for a day job, which excuse me, I'm tired because I haven't slept since 9:30 yesterday. I hadn't slept since I obviously went to work, because I got up and went right to work. But what I'm saying is simply that I think I planted a small seed about that transgender people into his mind. I think I did a good job of that. I remember one other time there was a gentleman that I similarly educated about gender and sex. Sex is determined at birth. Gender is determined gender is your internal sex, how you see yourself. And sexual orientation is very different, because sexual orientation deals with a consistent attraction to one or both sexes. And a lot of times we usually get gender expression and sexual orientation mixed up, and I will not lie, I did too. And so if a gay man could do that, imagine how straight people who may not have a transgender individual who they're okay with, or who they look at as anybody as normal as everybody else, how they may feel, or how they may look at it. And they may also have all of the gender umbrella into one. So simple, they may not know the differences. And working out, which was a ABC comedy that was to kind of like Joanna Man in the workplace, but the problem is they were just dressing up just to work. And I kind of like that sexuality had nothing to do with that, but they were looking at it as being women in the workplace. And there was a big backlash, and I can kind of understand a bit why, because people who may not think or may not know about transgender individuals may have simply thought, this is what them trans cross-dressers want to do. And cross-dressing and transgender are very different. Cross-dressers, they do not, as a rule, they do not present themselves to the world as female. Neither do drag queens. That drag queen is a persona. It is not their everyday life. Transgender person will dress in accordance with their gender identity consistently and express themselves to the world as such. After they get many things in order, of course, is coming out and different things like that. And the surgery, sometimes people have the surgery, sometimes they do not. That depends on the individual. But working out was something that people thought this could really reflect badly on the transgender community, and I could understand that point. But I could also understand on the point of a hick in Kentucky, or hell, a hick in New York. We got them. Hicken, Vermont, or something like that. One of those really uneducated country bumpkins, but you don't have to be from the country to be uneducated. So I will make that disclaimer. It doesn't matter where you are or where you live. You can have an educated country guy, you can have an uneducated country guy, but those who are uneducated about transgender issues could very well have seen this as, this is what transgender people want to do. They want, they'll do this, they'll do that, they'll do this, they'll do that, and then we won't have anything to say about it. But also, I also want to mention something too. This has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but Jerry Sandusky. It's amazing that Brian Fisher said that Jerry's pedophiles, homosexual pedophiles like Jerry Sandusky, when he doesn't realize that that man who's accused of pedophilia is in fact married. But that's what they believe transgender people will do in the bathrooms, that they'll sexually assault someone in the bathrooms, and most of those assaults are not by individuals who are transgender, and which leads me to gender. That I was changing into my rain suit at work, and they saw this bracelet, which says Equal Rights Now Gender. If you scroll from kind of the opposite way, you'll be able to see that. GENDA is the Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Act, which will prohibit gender identity discrimination in the workplace, medical, and housing, and many other areas. GENDA is a very expansive bill. And I was changing into my rain suit, and they saw that prior to me getting my rain suit and changing. And they said, what's that? Equal rights, gender. And I explained to them that. And the chemical guy said something, and I couldn't hear him, so I asked the gentleman who asked me about the bracelet, I asked him, what did he say? And he said, he repeated it to me, that chemical guy said, the Bible will tell you all you need to know. And I said, listen, you can argue the Bible, but you can talk about the Bible, but I will talk about civil rights. This is a civil rights issue. It has nothing to do with the Bible. Basically, this is about legal protections, and many people will put their beliefs that, you know, it's wrong, it's this, it's that, but it's a reality first of all. And regardless of how a person feels about that, I'm talking about discrimination. Discrimination should not be taking place because of who you are. We all have the power to self-identify, but also we can pedophile. Who is it? Well, if you use information that from a neighborhood alert saying that a pedophile is moving in, if you use that to harm them, you are charged with a crime. So why can't transgender individuals be similarly protected? I'm not saying that pedophiles are not deserving of legal protections, because they are called the accused for a reason. But, and even some who are convicted, and some are put as a sex offender for stuff like being convicted of not disclosing you're HIV positive before an encounter, which is crazy, because as long as it's safe, those disclosure laws are working against the public good. They're not working for it. But that's something that happened, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to argue this. I'm just going to go. And I said, equal protection under the law applies to transgender people too. I don't care how you feel about it. Those are the facts. And then I walked away, because I know that arguing with him just wasn't going to be anything useful. It would be like teaching a pig to sing. It frustrates you and annoys the pig. So those are two trans incidents, for lack of a better term, little small things that I had this week. But it's kind of funny too with all of that, because I'm out there in a hostile place on the whole, because it's a very macho place, and I guess the only reason that I'm even tolerated is because I don't act like the flamboyant coworker. And even if I don't care about tolerance or acceptance, just respect me. That's really how I feel the most as far as my workplace. Regardless of how you feel about it, you have to respect me. I am a coworker. I'm a human being. Just like you, I too bleed red, and I too am America. So, rate, comment, subscribe. Let me know how you feel if you run into any such incidents in the office or in the workplace. Good day, y'all.